Come on, be honest. When's the last time you changed your guitar strings? Every time I change my guitar strings, I am surprised by how awesome my guitar sounds. You forget because slowly and slowly, some of that resonance just kind of dulls out a little bit. I've always found that changing my guitar strings makes me excited to play my guitar again. So before I show you how, I'm going to answer a couple quick questions. How often should you change your guitar strings? Well, this really varies, but to me, I like to change my guitar strings every couple of months. You can go for longer if you want. Around a couple of months, there's a difference. Second question, what kind of guitar strings should you buy? Well, my Martin guitar, and even before I had a Martin, I really like these Martin strings. I just started using these retro ones. I like them okay. They sound pretty nice. Generally, I use these. I did want to point out one thing to look for. So these, you'll notice, are light versions. These are medium. And what that is just how thick the strings are. And so if you're a beginner, sometimes it can be easier to start with the light strings. I like to go for medium because they sound really nice and they're still relatively easy to play. Finally, what do you need to change your guitar strings? Let me show you. I recently bought this amazing piece of equipment. I think was like $10. If you don't have $10, I'm going to show you what you can use. You should have lying around the house, hopefully. Otherwise, they also make string winders that are even cheaper, like $2 or $3. These little plastic things that at least have this, and that's just going to save you a little bit of time. You can sit there and twist the strings all on your own, but I found these to be super, super helpful. Other things you can use, these you can use to pull out the bridge pins if necessary. Bridge pins are also not very expensive to replace most times, but these can damage them if you're pinching them too hard. The other thing here is most pliers that you have at home will have this little wire cutter, string cutter thing here that you can use. That helps after you've put it on. I'll show you when we use that. You don't necessarily need this, but it's nice to clean up this area right here. You see, I don't have giant strings, wires all over the place. Let me show you how to do it. First step is to take all the strings off. And we do that by unwinding. Make sure, what I like to do is, see, sounds going up. That's not the right way. So I unwind enough to get to this point here where I can unwrap above by the headstock here. So at this point, see, it's not quite there, so I gotta go a little bit further. And there we go. So I'm gonna do that same process for all the strings, get all the strings off. So you can see how many times I had to spin it around to get the strings off. Like I said, it can be really, really annoying to do that manually, but it can be done. Okay, so once these are all off, and actually in retrospect, I probably didn't have to take them all off like this. They're kind of in the way now. Now we need to take the string out of the bridge pin here. And you'll see, I'm trying to do it with my hand. That one actually came off, which is great, but sometimes they get a little stuck, and this is one of the reasons why you can use the needle nose plier if necessary. Now, a little trick that is, if it does get stuck, if you push the string down like that, sometimes that loosens that loosens the peg up, and it can make it easier to take it out. So the other thing I'll point out is if you have something hard like a pick or a quarter, you can reach your hand in the sound hole and also try to do that after you've pushed the string in and unlocked the string. The other thing is this. The other way is this little part right here. That's what this is for. You can kind of wedge it in there if you need and try to pick it up. I found that doesn't tend to work super well for me, but things to try if it's really stuck in it. You know, maybe if you haven't changed your strings for a really long time. So I'm going to take the rest of the strings out now. Okay, so now that the strings are done, what I like to do is to get them all together and wrap them in a circle, kind of like this. Then loop them like that, and it really doesn't do anything except make it easier to throw away, but I like that. So let's open these strings and see inside. So before we get the strings on, it's always a really good idea to wipe down your frets. If you have a fretboard cleaner of some kind, this is a good time to clean in between. Sometimes it gets gunky in there. Get underneath there, underneath here where you can't get when there's strings on there. The other thing that I like to do, I don't need to do it currently on here, is if you have little screwdrivers. Sometimes you can tighten these up, these tuning pegs, and it just makes it a little bit more secure. Mine are, like I said, they're okay now, but you need a little screwdriver to do that. We'll start with the 6th E. There's 2 E's, the high E and the low E. The 6th E is the low, that's low sounding E. And you'll note that the difference between the two is that this one's thicker, you see, and the other E, the 1st E, is a lot thinner. I'm not going to pull it all the way out yet. I don't even know if you can see that. So, we're going to start here. First thing you do, you got to put it in the bridge, the peg. And a little trick or something to note is once you get it down in there, you need to pull the string up, and that'll kind of help lock it in place a little bit. And then, once it's kind of locked in there a little bit, I like to set my guitar like that. It's basically the string's going to come up here, go through there and out, through and out, because we're going to turn outward. We're going to turn the string outward all the time, outward, outward. This will be the opposite way, outward, outward, outward. So, put the string into the hole there. Now, I like to leave a little bit of room here, so I'm not pulling it all the way tight. I'm leaving a little bit of room, and what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to wind the string around a couple times, and it'll keep the guitar tuned. I have one more little trick to show you that's going to help keep the guitar tuned, and that's to lock this position in here. So I'm going to show you that in just 1 second. Okay, so once you have a little bit of leeway here, you're going to come in like that, tighten it up. Once you've got it tight and kind of crimped there, you bring it around the front and you put pressure to lock it like that. And again, I'm kind of crimping the string there, so now it's going to stay a little bit on its own. I'll show you again on another string when we get to the other side to show how to do it. But basically, again, you go under the string, then you come over and pull down, and you crimp it right there. Once it's like that, we can start tightening up. And one thing we want to look for as we're doing that is when it comes around, we want this to be on the bottom. So basically it's wrapping down. Now, ideally we like to get it around a couple times, 2 or 3 times. I didn't quite leave enough room this time around. That's okay. Now, once you've got it in relatively to the right note, and we can talk about tuning in another video, but essentially what you want to do is stretch the string out a little bit. And what this does is the string is really tense right now, and so getting some of that tension out gets it settled in the spot and settled into this specific tension so that it stays in tune better. Some of you maybe have changed your strings in the past. You tune your guitar and you go to play, and then 2 seconds later it's out of tune. That's because you haven't really done this step. So I like to kind of go all around, and voila. Okay, so now, once we're here, we can snip this part off. Clean it up there. And there we go. All right, so let's do the other side now to try. We're going to do the G string. And we're going to practice that same method of locking the string before tightening it. So again, I'm pulling out the peg, pushing it down. I'm pulling the string to lock it. Once it's kind of locked and I can feel a little bit of tension, I'm going to put basically what I'm doing is angling it slightly outward. The hole, I don't know if you can see that. But basically the hole is angled so that it goes straight in, but it's slightly, kind of diagonally out that way. That just helps me. So now, again, I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here. A little bit of room to tighten. And maybe I'm going to overcompensate because of what happened last time. And we're going to go under. Pull it tight. Tight, tight, tight. Come over and back. And again, tight, tight, tight. So it crimps on there. Now we can start tightening. Remember that we are tightening outward. So I'm turning this way. You've got my finger on here creating a little bit of tension. And there we go. It's starting to wrap around a little bit. So what I'm doing now is creating a little bit more tension. And again, you'll notice, let's see, this way. You see it's wrapping down. Now I'm doing the 3rd string, the G string, so naturally I'm in the 3rd spot here. Just trying to cover all the angles, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, clipping this off now. And again, now that it's on here, I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. And that'll help keep it in tune. Then we do the rest of the guitar. I've gone string by string. Someone told me a long time ago that it's good to do this. Someone also told me that you weren't supposed to take all the strings off at the same time, but I've seen most people change strings. If you look on YouTube, things like that, they'll do that. And so you can do your own research on that. This is how I do it, and I found it works really well for me. So I'm going to do the A string, then the B string, then the D string, and then the E string. Sometimes if you don't lock the pin in it, it comes out on you, see? This is a good time to show you actually what can happen. It's starting to go on top. And so what you need to do is just gently push it down so it starts to wrap on the underneath instead of over it. All right, once all of the strings have been put on there, it's not in tune. So now that you've stretched them all out, you can go ahead and tune it. If you want my recommendation for tuners, let me know. There's a ton of great apps that do it. I have one built in here. I also like to use the snark that gets clipped on there. So I'm going to tune my guitar real quick. E. A. D. G. So what I like to do is after I've tuned it the first time, I again kind of like try to wiggle the strings a little bit, see if there's anything, because I'm still changing the tension a lot when you initially tune it. So I do that once, I tune it again. Yeah. Hopefully you feel confident now changing your own strings. Please let me know if you have any questions. It can be daunting and scary at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. I know for me, it took me a while before I felt comfortable really doing it on my own, and I had more knowledgeable friends to help me out. So I hope this helps you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more tips, for more songs. Happy playing, and we'll see you soon.